Hello people, in this video I'm going to talk about how we can read books more effectively. So as a university student we have to deal with a lot of academic books and a lot of non-academic books as well. But the thing is that as I have that problem, I often tended to forget things quickly as soon as I read it. So let's say that if I read a certain book named Programming with C++ or anything else, and I just happen to grab the concept once I have read the book from the first page to the last page. What happens is if I try to recall that information even after, let's say, around 2 hours, or let's say 2 to 3 hours after I have finished studying that book, I often tend to forget the informations in that book, and that problem is quite annoying. And it's more problematic when you have to deal with when you are actually studying for your exams and you assume that you have actually finished studying whatever is written on your syllabus, but then later you find out that you actually do not recall any of those information, and that's the problem with many other students as well. So the problem that I found with me was that I was studying things sequentially. So let's say that I started reading the book Programming with C++ sequentially. So I'll go from first page to the last page. Then what happens is my brain stores the information on that given book sequentially. So when this happens, let's say after a certain period of time, if I want to recall a certain information, I have to actually remember the sequence that I learned that information in, because I'm linking the overall context of the information written in that book in a sequential pattern. So yeah, sequential studying can cause problems in some people, and I think it's not the effective means to actually study the academic books. So what is the solution that I found to be helpful? So the solution that I found to be helpful was that I implemented the 3-pass techniques. So what is the 3-pass technique? So in this technique, what I did was that I would divide reading a certain book into 3 different passes, and I would for the sake of this video I can classify these into 2 types. So one is the forward backward FFB technique, and the other one is forward backward forward technique. So what these techniques are, I'll come into that in a minute, but let me tell you something. If you are already someone who is dealing with procrastination and like you find it really hard to start whatever, let's say you find it really difficult to actually start reading a book, or you find it difficult to actually finish reading a book, then you should probably watch my other video after watching this video, so that you first can work on your procrastination, and then probably you can work on improving your what can I call it? I often happen to forget the words. So then you can probably work on reading effectively. Now, while saying this, I don't want to be sounding too imposive. So whatever I am discussing in this video is solely what I found to be effective, and I won't disagree if you say that this method did not work for me, because every person is different and how they think and process information can as well be different. But yeah, if you have problem recalling the information that you learned from a book, then probably this method can be helpful, because it has proved to be helpful for me. So what I do when reading a certain book, let's say that I'm starting to read the book Programming with C++, then what I will do is that using the 3-pass technique, let's say I have the book. So the first thing that I do is I'll go from the first page of that book to the last page of that book. Now, what are the problems that I'll face? The problems that I'll face is that when I'm scanning through the book, there might probably be a topic that I cannot quite comprehend. Let's say there's a topic called inheritance in that book, Programming with C++, which I'm not quite able to get hold of. Now I have two options. The first option is that I can probably refer to another reference, or I can probably go and watch a YouTube video on it, or I can just consult another book. And the next step here is that I can just scan through all the information on that given book about inheritance, and then I can move on to the next topic. So what's the problem with changing reference? So when you try to change the reference, let's say that you were learning inheritance from that given Programming with C++ book, and now you are changing the reference to, let's say, another Programming with C++ book to study inheritance. Now this involves switching the context, and I'll probably talk more about switching context in another video. But yeah, so what happens is when you switch context, you also switch your attention, and you are more prone to distraction, as well as you consume more brain power when you are actually changing the references. And it will definitely give you a solution to that, to whatever the topic that you were confused in. But yeah, I don't think that it's that effective when you are actually studying things in bulk, because constantly switching between references can consume a lot of brain power, and it can as well cause you to be more prone to distractions. So what I will do in the first forward pass, by the way, the forward pass means that I have to be studying the book from the first page to the last page. So in the first forward pass, if I get stuck in a certain topic, what I will do is that I will just scan through whatever information is given on that book, and then I will just move into the next topic. Now when I move into the next topic, I will probably, let's say, grab certain information, and then later in that book there might probably be cases of the applications of inheritance, and there will be a lot of context of inheritance as well. And what happens is, when I'm studying this way, I will set a certain wireframe of how the context of that term inheritance is building throughout the book and what its applications are. So, and when I reach to the last page of the book, I now probably will have a wireframe of how the overall topics in that book is. Now, is this enough? No, because we haven't really understood the topic inheritance yet, and probably we haven't even understood the topic about anything that relates to inheritance. We do now though have a certain wireframe of how the context and the content of the book looks like. Now, since now I have a wireframe of the topic, I will now traverse the information on that book from the last phase to the first phase. Since you already have a hold of the context and the content of that given book, now it will be much easier for you to actually, okay, let me just get back and recall all those informations from the last phase. Now, why are we doing a backward pass? It is because in the first pass, remember that it's more than likely for me to actually be setting the context of how I remember or memorize the content of that book in a sequential pattern, and that can be problematic, because if I, let's say, forget a certain sequence in that pattern, I might just forget all the information. Sorry, that's not all. I might be able to forget a certain portion of that information. So how the backward pass helps is that you will now be able to, when you traverse the book from the last page, you will now be able to get hold of that information in a non-sequential pattern. And I am not so sure about how this works, but yeah, I often, when I go through a backward pass, it helps me to get out of the sequential linking of the information, and then I'm more than likely able to actually remember the information that I learned from the given book in separate chunks. So when we are going through a backward pass, I would also set up hooks. So the 3-pass technique I use also has something called hooks. So what are hooks? So let's say that there's a topic called inheritance, and yeah, when you are going back through the information on the book, you are more than likely now to understand, like, okay, this is how inheritance is going in this book. Okay, this is probably you'll have a rough idea of what inheritance is. You are more than likely to actually be able to understand what inheritance is, which you were not able to understand in the first place. I'm telling it because it has proved to be that for me in many cases. So, and let's say when I'm traversing back through the information, and let's say there's another topic called virtual classes, let's say. So when I'm studying the virtual classes topic, let's say that the topic is pretty big. It's about like 5 or 6 pages, and there are like advantages, importance, and things like that. Now when I'm reading through the virtual classes topic, and let's say that there are certain things that I need to remember, or let's say I have to be able to recall at a certain point of time, then to be able to do this, we actually have to set up hooks. So what are hooks? So hooks are certain points that will help you remember a certain topic in breakable points. Now, to make you understand the importance of hooks, let me give an example. So let's say there's a city, and you have to transmit the information from that city to a certain distant city. So that city is far, and there are like let's say there are 4 cities in between these 2 cities. So when you are transmitting the information from first city to the last city, it's more than likely that the information will be interfered by noises, the signal will be extremely weak, and the final signal might be too weak at the destination point to be received and looked at. So what we do in this case is that we set up amplifiers. Now what amplifiers? So what amplifiers will do is that, let's say they receive a certain information, it's getting weakened. So the first city will actually again amplify the signal, and it will again start getting interfered by noises, getting weakened, and at the second city it will again get amplified. So yeah, this is just an example. So you have to set up certain points which can amplify the information that you have actually learned. So hooks are just points about your specific topic. Let's say it's virtual classes, and there are certain topics, and then what I will do is that I will point down what are the main points. Let's say virtual classes. Okay, so it can be like points A, B, C. So these are 3 important points about virtual classes, and I would be able to recall all remaining informations about virtual classes if I know these certain points. So these points I'll just note it down when I'm doing the backward pass. So I'll do this through every topic. Remember that since I have already done the forward pass, the information about these topics, they aren't quite new to me, so it won't be that hard for me to get back through the context and the content of the topic, but certain time, it will take a certain time to just note down, okay, these are the important points here. Now so once I have done this, yeah, so while setting up hooks, you have to just point down important points and make sure that they are like as smaller as possible, so that you don't get confused while trying to recall what the points were. So now let's say that a topic is like it's just extremely huge topic, and there are a certain points that you have to remember. Let's say like there's a topic called importance of virtual classes, and you actually have to memorize the topic for a certain reason, or you have to be able to recall that information later for a certain reason. Now what you have to do now is that you cannot really like point down all the importance points, because it's too long, and that long bit of information, it's too hard for you to actually be able to recall. Now what you can do here is that while setting up hooks, you can encode every point there into alphabets. Let's say that inside virtual classes there's an importance called it is useful for inheritance or something like that. Then what you will do is that you will just remember that point as I. Now it might sound, how will I be able to like recall it is useful for inheritance by just remembering the I? When you are learning the points, let's say you have just scanned through all the information of the important points in the book, and now you have deciphered an alphabet code for every of your point. Now you have to read it. Okay, I means this, B means this, C means this. Now you have read it. Now what you will do is that you will only read and remember the alphabets. Now you can adjust how you name or encode a certain topic as per your will, and you will find it quite easy to encode informations as you practice the passing techniques. And I'll probably make another video about how to encode hooks for information, so that you don't have to actually be remembering a lot of information. Now that you have set up hooks for the points, and you have also finished the backward pass, you probably now have a very good hold of the information on that book. Now to re-strengthen the information that you have learned through these 2 passes, you will now make the last forward pass. So in this forward pass, you will make sure that you have your hooks ready, and you are in you're on the first page of the book. So now you will be sequentially scanning through the hooks that you have set up for each topic, and also so now you'll be scanning the hooks for that you have set up for each topic, and also the information on that topic from that book. Now, and the third pass is probably the fastest of the passes, because you now have a very good hold of information sequentially. You have you have also done a backward pass, so you are now no more linked. Now the information on your brain is no more linked sequentially, and you can actually be able to remember the chunk of information in separately. Okay, yeah, they are not linked with each other anymore. And with the last pass, you are actually able to link every hook you have set up with the topic, and the third pass will actually ensure that you now have a very good hold of the information. So this is all about how I do the forward backward pass. So when do I use a forward backward pass? Let's say there's another topic called data structure with Java. Let's say that I was scanning through the topic, and I find an topic named interfaces or something. So let's say that I was not quite able to understand the topic interface, and then I just scanned through that information, and then I moved to the next topic. But what I found was that the next topic is also heavily related to interface, and that I'm not quite able to get hold of it. And when I moved to the further part of the book, I found out that there are a lot of information that I haven't got quite hold of. So now the case is that the wireframe of the book on your head is probably not accurately set. So in this case, to re-strengthen your wireframe, you have to again go into the forward pass, because if you do a backward pass now, you actually don't have a wireframe set on your head. And if you try doing a backward pass without having a certain wireframe of that book on your head, then it will be very hard for you to deal with it. So every other thing that I mentioned is same, but when you are not able to actually get hold of the wireframe of the book in the first attempt or the first pass, you have to do 2 forward passes. And remember that you have to set up the hooks in the last pass in this case, because your wireframe is not still clear when you are actually doing the second pass. So you'll probably be done with the forward and backward pass, and you will after the 2 forward passes, you will be able to get a better hold of the information on that book with the forward and backward passes. And in some cases where I have to do a forward backward pass, I often also have to do another pass. So it can be forward pass, it can be backward pass, just so that I can actually link the hooks that I have set up for the topic in the last backward pass to the topics on that book. So actually doing this has helped me a lot to be doing good with reading the books, because in other cases what I will do is I will try to get perfect hold of all the information on that book, and then after a certain time I'll just forget everything. So the 3 pass technique has actually worked better for me than what I used to do traditionally. And that's pretty much all of it for this video, I think. So yeah, it's a 3 pass technique, and I think I have given almost all the information that's necessary. And and when you start implementing the 3 pass technique, I know it will be quite difficult for you. You will think that probably it will need more time because you have to finish through the books 3 times, but no, it's actually quite faster than the traditional technique. Let's say that I used to take, let's say, 3 days to complete the programming with C++ book while studying it in the traditional way. But if I study with the 3-pass technique, since I won't probably get stuck in the forward passes that I'm doing, I'm actually able to complete the whole information on that book in just 2 days. So it gets quite faster. I cannot really guarantee if like you will actually get a hold of it in the first attempt, but I think that the 3-pass technique is a much better technique to actually read academic books. So yeah, and something I'd like to add, because I might sound too impulsive about this technique, is that if you are not quite able to get hold of the information in the first 2 passes, then you should probably then switch to another reference about that specific topic. But why I don't recommend switching the references is that you will get a habit of it, and if the sentences in a given topic are quite complex, your brain will probably send a response that no, you have to consult an easier reference. And yes, as I said, switching between references consumes more brain power, and it also makes you more prone to distractions. That's pretty much all of it. That's how I read books more effectively. I haven't tried this technique. I don't think this technique will work, and I don't think you should implement this technique in fiction or other personal growth books. So yeah, that's pretty much all of it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.